Hey there YouTube, welcome to Big Mike Beard Wisdom. So today we're going to be sharpening the blade on the Kobalt lawnmower, and it's pretty simple. The big thing is to make sure you've got the battery out of it. So showing clear, so there's no battery in it. And then depending on if you've ever taken this nut loose, this can be pretty tight or just a little tight. So the first time I did it, it was extremely tight. And then I was able to take like a 2x4, put it off to the side and wedge it in here. That way it was wedged against the blade and somewhere else. And just to make the video faster, I already broke this nut loose. But that's supposed to be like a 27mm. Otherwise, if you've got a big crescent, that'll work too. Probably speed this up. So take the nut off. Be sure to look at like the directions that these are going. If this was to turn clockwise, so like a clock, the dull blade goes the dull part of the blade goes forward. And then if you look on here, they've got little arrows on here, and on the blade itself they're notched for those arrows. Like a lot of blades, this dulls, nicks, and cracks. And one of the easier ways to try and figure out if you've got a sharp blade or not is to kind of find like a shiny spot. So the sun's behind me, and then move up the blade, and if you see any kind of flat spots or you see any glinting, that's a dull section. So you can kind of see this section here is sharper than this section here. And we're going to do this two different ways. So the first time I did this, I just did it with a file, and that's what I'll do on this side probably. But I also picked up one of these. So it's a blade sharpening and balancing kit. And last time I didn't so much balance it, I just sharpened the blade. But it's kind of one of those things where you want to make sure that it's balanced, because just like your wheels on your car and stuff like that, having this spin out of balance is going to shake things that were designed not to be shaken. So I'll do one part of the blade with just a file, and then I'll do another part of the blade with this, just to show how much faster this probably is. Here's the dull blade side. So you can see the sharp blade side. You can see that the edge looks less shiny than the dull side did. So pretty shiny, less shiny, pretty shiny, less shiny. And this is sharp enough now that I don't want to hold this when I tighten the blade up. So when I go to tighten the blade back up, the nice thing is that when you go to tighten it, because it's a clockwise tightening, the dull side of the blade will actually be up against like a wood block basically. And then now we'll go ahead and we'll sharpen this other side with the tool. So this is actually kind of interesting because it says to use like this outer part on to like take care of any burrs. And then in the instructions it says only to do the outer 3 to 4 inches. And I'm sure with a blade like this, so the wave in this blade is because it's basically a mulching blade. So I can probably only do this little section here with it. So real quick, we'll take care of the burrs. And then you want to put in the blade against the nylon piece. That way, that bevel is what gets cut in the blade. Now that bevel could be argued as to what's the best angle to sharpen your blades to. All right, so the sun directly behind us, you can kind of see that that's probably sharper than it was, and it definitely feels sharper. But for a mulching blade like this, that sharpener really isn't my cup of tea for it. And I think in the end I'll like a just doing it by hand a little bit better, because this side is much sharper. I was able to do the angle that I want to do it at, which this one's pretty close, but it's not quite the right angle that I want. But if you had a straight blade, it would definitely be much faster. For the real reason why I kind of bought this blade sharpening kit was for this little balancer. And the balancer is actually really simple. So in the center of each blade you'll have different holes, and then this has different sizes for it to fit into, and all it is a cone that sits on a sharper cone and freely wobbles. Now obviously this would be a better check if it was on a like level surface and the wind wasn't blowing. But we gotta kind of wait for the wind to stop blowing. As you can kind of see though, it's wobbling almost the same amount both ways. So if the wind wasn't blowing, I'm willing to bet that this would be pretty level. So I would say she's fairly balanced. It's not leaning overly hard one way or the other when the wind's not blowing. It might dip a little bit on this side, but it's pretty level, so it's probably pretty balanced. So if you wind up doing this to your lawnmower, I would almost recommend doing taking everything loose and stuff like that, kind of like you're doing a YouTube video. That way you can review and see which way your blade goes back on. But from how I was talking before, this blade, these arrows go toward the user. You can still see the old mounting witness marks, so you know that this side goes against there. And then with the arrows on it, you know the blades are going the right way. I don't think everything uses those arrows, and those arrows might make it almost like a proprietary style blade, whereas I'm pretty sure other ones just have circles. Pretty much put the blade back on, make sure she's seated. screw the nut down. If you get a 4x4 block, you can take it, kind of wedge it over here by the blow door, so the side discharge door, and the hump in the frame there, and then the blade should hit it. Preferably wearing gloves. Keep yourself safe. Go ahead and tighten her down. In the owner's manual, I didn't really see a torque spec for this. And then with it being a plastic nut and bolt assembly, it probably doesn't get super tightened. So it's gonna be one of those things where hopefully you've got a good sense of natural torques, because you could probably easily over tighten this and break something. And then one of the reasons why you might want to go ahead and sharpen your blade is that, especially with an electric mower, it seems like it's range dependent, so you're able to go so far, but having a nice sharp blade that cuts easily through the grass and doesn't put a lot of extra load on it, seems like the battery charge lasts a little bit longer. And it helps for gas ones too, because that riding mower, whenever I sharpened the blades last year, I swear it doubled like the fuel economy of it. So whereas before I was going through a tank of fuel probably in 2 lawn mowings, now I can do 4 lawn mowings on a tank and still have enough to be like, yeah, can I do a 5th? All right, then final check in a safe place. She spins fine, and there wasn't any weird vibrations, so I think we're good to go. So, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Feel free to like and subscribe, and I'll check you next time. Oh, allergies suck. I don't know what I was saying. Oh, it's horrible footage.